Hey guys, this is Fiend Press 91, and I'm talking about season 3 of The Walking Dead. And the thing is that apparently Telltale said season 3 would take a different angle on the apocalypse. Now, some people think that means a whole new story, which could be possibly right, because with Clement Wellington, imagine if you have this whole new story that takes like a year or two, and at the end of it, they get to Wellington. And then Clem's at Wellington. Like, this goes along with my whole all endings lead to Wellington, but even if it goes to House, let's just say they get to House at the end with Clem at House, and then the two groups combine and blah, blah, blah. But I'm not sure whether they mean a new character, but if they mean a new character, let's just point this out. First things first. I made my Is Lee Really Dead video, right? Or something like that. I think that's the title, though. Is Lee, basically it says The Walking Dead, Is Lee Really Dead? But I made that video, and I forgot to mention one thing, because I never kept the arm in my games. I cut off the arm every single time. So I didn't know what happened when you didn't cut off the arm. But I watched some YouTube videos, and it seems that he picks up a piece of glass and cuts his left arm, and blood starts draining out of it. Now, when you have a snake bite, if you like suck the blood out, you can also suck the poison out at the same time. So I'm just pointing out there that even if you keep the arm, that scene may be more important than people think. If he grabs that piece of glass and the blood's draining out, that could drain some of the infection out, or some of whatever is spread inside his blood out. It could drain it out. I'm just saying it could. Just putting that out there. All right. Now, let's say Lee is still alive. Just for the sake of this discussion, let's say Lee is still alive. Let's say this is how season 3 starts. It's not a new. It is a old character, but you're playing as him again. You're playing as Lee. Let's say it starts like this. You're at whatever building it was, the store where Clementine was. It's like maybe a few minutes or even like a half hour after Clementine left. And all of a sudden you hear Molly or other people just talking. And you're opening your eyes and they're saying stuff like, is this guy bitten? Is this guy dead? And then one of them says like, no, this guy's in dead. We need to take him with us. They take him with you, and you wake up as Lee with this new group. And you have to try to, and of course Lee is going to want to first find Clementine. You can't do that. Months pass, years pass. Lee basically gave up hope for Clementine. And then you have these new challenges, and then maybe you meet some old friends. Some old friends who are still alive, which is actually very few from the first game. But let's just say you meet some old friends, you have challenges just like you did in season 2. At the end, Lee meets Clementine. And then that embarks it on to season 4. Now, I'm not saying this is what will happen, but I'm just saying if Telltale says they're taking this new angle, I could see this going that way. Even if Lee isn't the person, I could see it being a familiar face. I'm not going to say Molly. I would not want Molly to be the character, because Molly has such a strong NPC character to me that I wouldn't want her to be the character. Maybe if it's not Lee, maybe it's one person from the other group, but this particular group, I don't think any of them would make a good main character. I just don't think it. I don't see Mike, Arvo, definitely not Arvo. I don't see Jane, and well, Jane's possibility dead or alive, so you can't even think her as an option. I don't see anyone from this group who isn't dead. Luke, to me, would have probably been like the best character to be a main character in the next game. So I don't see anyone who isn't dead in this game as the main character. So to me, if they went the route of Lee being alive, let me just point one thing out and listen very carefully to this statement. If Lee is alive and is the main character in season 3, Jane is screwed. I'm going to repeat that. If Lee is alive and is the main character in season 3, Jane is screwed. And why is Jane screwed? Because I see people going back to their games, letting Kenny kill Jane, just so that Kenny can talk to Lee again. That's what I'm seeing. Why am I seeing that? Because, let's face it, if Lee is alive and he's in season 3, people are going to want to see him talk to Kenny. They're not going to, I mean, Jane is new. What Clementine's like, oh, this is Jane, and then they just meet, start talking. No, people are going to want to see that history there, depending on their old Kenny choices. People who love Kenny, they may want to keep him. People who didn't like Kenny may just want to keep him there for the tension. So if Lee is alive, Jane is screwed. I think that's just what's going to happen if Lee is alive. Anyway, that's just my thoughts about this. If they do take an angle then you know, if they do take this new angle and they do Lee's alive, I know I've beaten this dead horse many times. I'm practically beating a skeleton at this point with the whole Lee being alive thing. But still, just saying, if Lee is alive and he's in season 3, then yeah, that's what I think they'd go with. I mean, could you imagine that? Could you imagine Lee meeting some people from the past? Could you imagine just playing as Lee again, an adult again, and then meeting up with Clementine again? The only problem I would have is that if Clementine became an NPC, then the choices would kind of not matter what you made. Though that happened with Bonnie. Did anybody else notice that? That because you made choices with Bonnie, but it didn't seem to matter much because they didn't talk about what happened in Bonnie's past. So even though Bonnie's in this game as an NPC, you don't really get to talk. She doesn't say anything about like B, or I think it was Leland. She didn't say anything about them. It just didn't make sense to me because Bonnie, whatever you did with Bonnie didn't seem to make a difference what happened in this game. So it wouldn't be the first time they've taken someone that you've played as and it didn't make much of a difference. Same thing with any of the characters from 400 Days. In this game, it didn't really make a much difference what happened. They still had the same lines. Now, perhaps in the DLC, if there is DLC for this game, which probably will be, they may have more parts for these 400-day characters. Who knows? Maybe the DLC will be about Tavy and them escaping House. Because remember, when Jane go back to House, there isn't much food left. So that means that people must have escaped, and people must have ransacked the food and escaped before the walkers got in, or something like that, or if the walkers got in at all. So maybe that the people at House escaped, and maybe some people from the 400 Days will be in it. The only problem with that, I don't see that happening. Why? Because there is a possibility that Bonnie is the only 400-day member at House. So with that, how would you really, for those who left everybody else at the campfire, how would you have that? Unless you just play as Tavia and maybe they're just there if they're there, and then there's not. But then if they're there, once again, I see them not giving them much lines because there's too much stuff to do. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Tell me yours, because what do you think Telltale would mean by taking a new angle? Do you think it means a new group, or do you think it means like just a new look at the outbreak in general? Just tell me your thoughts. All right, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and God bless you all.